Good morning, Camp David podcast listeners. Welcome to our next podcast series starting today with Lawrence Horn. Lawrence, welcome.
Hello.
So good to have you.
Yeah.
We are really excited that we're going to do a series on Wild at Heart from John Eldredge. Discovering the secret of a man's soul. Before we get into that, Lawrence, we've been talking about this a while. But first, before we start with that, who are you?
So I come from the best country in the world, Namibia. I came to Potch, live in Potch now. I grew up in Namibia, studied here, met my wife here, and living here doing ministry full time. Got saved while I was still studying. And since I got saved, it was a year after I got saved, I got into ministry, went into ministry, started making disciples. That's what God has called me to do, nothing really more than that. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen, but make disciples. So if you ask me who I am, I'm a disciple maker, or at least I try. I try to make disciples. God is faithful. So yeah, if someone asks me who I am, that's who I am. Married to one beautiful wife. I have one beautiful daughter. Praise the Lord for that. So yeah, pastor of a campus congregation. But essentially I make disciples.
Awesome. So you are pastor at Every Nation Church
Yes.
in Potchefstroom?
Yeah, Every Nation campus.
Yes, Every Nation campus.
That's it.
A few things we have in common. We love running.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely love running.
Two beautiful wives.
Yeah, between the two of us.
Yes. You have a daughter whose name is Zoe.
Yes.
I've got a little girl whose name is Zoe.
Yes.
Something in common. And then of course passionate about God and His people, right?
Amen. And men.
And
Passion
men.
with men.
Men.
With men. If you ask me what disciples I make disciples of men. I don't disciple women. I don't feel like God has called me to it. Obviously, I'll counsel or not counsel, but sit down with a woman every now and then in a congregation. But that's on my heart. My heart is for men. Love sitting down with men, having conversations with men. So that's definitely something we have in common.
Come on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, especially in Camp David. You've done a camp with us.
Yes, after you asked me once or twice.
Was it worth it?
Listen, I did the camp because I wanted to get you off my back. But God wanted me to do the camp. So when my wife asked me why am I going, I told her I'm not sure. And then it was absolutely worth it, most certainly worth it. There was so much that happened on that camp. I always tell people, like, it's tough to talk about the camp because you don't want to spoil it for other people. But when I think about the camp, I think about how God realigned my road. You know, I think my road wasn't a bad one, but it wasn't what God wanted from me. So a lot of stuff realigned, a lot of stuff was exposed that I didn't even know of, a lot of stuff that I knew of. So the camp, I mean, people ask me about Camp David, and the only thing I have to say is just do it. Like, don't hesitate. If money's an issue, let's sort out the money. Just do it. And I mean, I think the words resonate a lot with me, that when you said, just do the camp, because when you tell people in your congregation to go, it's different when you've done it. And that's definitely the case. Because after I went, I think we sent about 20 men in a couple of weeks' time to go on the camp. And all of them wanted to go because I say the same words when I flag the camp, but it comes out differently because I did the camp. You know, so the camp really, it realigned a lot of things for me. And that's it. It's on the camp that I rediscovered my love for running again. Because you kind of run a bit in the camp.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just
It's not a lot. I mean, just a little.
no white baboons, right?
Yeah, no. Just a little.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was good. I mean, it's always good to have existing leaders come up on camp day,
Yeah.
on the camps,
Yeah.
because they just play another role on the camp
Yeah.
as well. It's good for them, but
Yes.
also good for the men around them. So it was good to have you as well.
Yeah, it's good to rediscover some things that start to lie dormant.
Yeah.
When you go on the camp, it's just things are reignited like crazy. It's amazing.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what Camp David is for, right? We stand for igniting men to become the men God created them to be,
Yeah.
but also to strengthen churches in their men's ministries.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
And-
overall, churches struggle.
Yeah, and he definitely did that. Our men's ministry is called Cave Time. Pete, who's also part of Camp David, came to our last Cave Time event, and a lot of the stuff that we kind of implement on Cave Time hinges on the way that you guys also do things, and it's really trying to ignite men where they're at. You know, the way that God created them to be. We did our last Cave Time conference, and that's usually how we do it. We call it an unconference because we don't necessarily believe in a conference for men only. As a church, we believe in conferences, most certainly, but when men sit down and listen to another man speak for 2 hours, it gets tough. You know, men want to get up, they want to do things, they want to be active, they want to be heard, they want to give their opinions. And so a lot of that also changed when we got into contact with you guys, you know, when we started seeing how you did things. A lot of that changed for us as well, you know, and it helps a lot with our men. So, yeah,
That's awesome. I mean, if you look at most churches today, 2/3 are women in the church. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I can't settle for that.
No.
We're missing something for the men.
Yeah.
That's why we try to do things different, like an unconference.
Yes.
We had a men's morning the other day
Yeah.
where we ate together. You know,
Yes.
we had some masculine discussions.
Yeah.
And then we went and did archery.
Yeah.
Bow and arrow.
Beautiful.
And then we had some discussions there, being practical. Men
Yeah.
need to be practical.
Yeah.
We don't like being bored.
Yes. And I think that's what hit me when you introduced me to the book, and you turned the book around and you just read the back of the book, and it said multiple things, and then it came down to the problem is that men are bored, and that really stuck. And before we get into the book, one thing, so it's sticking in my mind, right, when we had a conversation. And so we bought our daughter one of her favorite books. Like, there's a series of books that she loves reading at night, and the last one that she needed in the series is called the girl that's the main character in the book. Her name's Mia, and it's an Afrikaans book, but translated it says Mia is bored, right? And so I speak to my mom on the phone and I tell her, no, we bought her the book. The book is called Mia is Bored. And then she says, oh, she's bored. She must have then been naughty in the book. Because that's what happens when you're bored. You get naughty. And it struck me between the eyes that's what happens. That's why men are naughty. Because they're bored. Men fall into all of these ridiculous things that the world gives us because we're bored. We don't know what to do with ourselves. And so since then, it's been on my mind, we need to break the boredom.
Come on.
You know, and that's a lot, that's what the book kind of speaks about a lot, you know, at least in the first couple of chapters that we've run through.
Just last,
Yes.
we put the kids in bed, 3 boys and a girl, put them in bed 7:30, 8ish.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working, Monica went to bed because she's pregnant, she's a bit more tired
Makes
than
sense.
usual.
Makes sense.
And I heard something outside after a while, and all 3 boys put on the camo gear,
Mm-hmm.
the farm gear, and they were spying outside. They just
Oh,
slipped
nice.
out, we didn't notice. They were spying outside, climbing on the roof and going through the plants in their camo gear. And I told them, you have school tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they were just bored, you know. At least they're not being naughty.
Yes.
They're doing the right
Good
things.
Yeah. Doing masculine things.
Yeah,
Things that
absolutely.
boys are supposed to do.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
So let's start with almost the back of the book. It says, really now, do I... Oh, wait, let me start a bit before that. This is in chapter 1, I think. Society at large can't make up its mind about men.
Mm.
Having spent the last 30 years redefining masculinity into something more sensitive, safe, manageable, and, well, feminine, it now berates men for not being men.
Mm.
Boys will be boys, they sigh, as though if a man were to truly grow up, he would forsake wilderness and wanderlust and settle down, be at home forever in Aunt Polly's parlour. Where are all the men, all the real men? Is regular fare for talk shows and new books. You asked them to be women, I want to say.
When I was reading the book, my wife was sitting next to me on the bed, and when I read that, I stopped and I read it out loud to her because it was so well written. You know, when he says, "Where are all the men?" Well, you asked them to be women. It's harsh, but to a large degree, it's true.
Yeah. The result is a gender confusion never experienced at such a wide level in the history of all the world. How can a man know he is one when his highest aim is minding his manners? I'm just thinking about my boys, when I read that. It's all about being good-mannered. At church, being good-mannered. So, sometimes our pastor comes to me and some of the other elders and says, just get your boys under control. They're in the trees all the time. And then I go like, I will not get them under control. They should be in the trees, you know?
Yeah.
But this, I think this part, and we can discuss it really now. Do I overstate my case? Walk into most churches in America, well, and South Africa maybe. Have a look around and ask yourself this question. What is a Christian man? Don't listen to what he said. Look at what you find there. There is no doubt about it. You'd have to admit a Christian man is bored. At a recent church retreat, I was talking with a guy in his 50s, listening really about his own journey as a man. Quote, I've pretty much tried for the last 20 years to be a good man as the church defines it. Intrigued, I asked him to say what he thought that was. He paused for a long moment. Dutiful, he said, and separated from his heart. A perfect description, I thought. Sadly, right on the mark.
That's good.
And I mean, we love church, right?
Yeah.
You're a pastor, I'm an elder at a church. We attend church, we try to build God's church with Jesus. And we love church. But something is missing concerning men.
Yeah.
I mean, even, I see it in our church, the divorced people, the women come to church.
Yeah.
The divorced men are nowhere.
Yeah.
They're looking for something different.
Yes. Yeah. Church isn't good enough for them. And I like to bring it back to that concept. Men don't like to just sit still. Just sit still and receive. It works for women. For the feminine side, it's how God designed them to be. It's to sit down, to listen, to take in, to absorb. And we do the same, but we don't necessarily do it sitting down. There's nothing wrong with a church service. I mean, I run a church service every Sunday. You know, trust God that the Holy Spirit works in people's hearts. But that's not enough. It's not enough for men. Men need to gather in small or great numbers and do extra things. Because, like you said, we're not against church. By no means. I am definitely for church. I think church is a wonderful. It's a wonderful institution made by Christ. That's what Christ meant it to be. But it can't stop there. You know, as I read through the book, I think I read further than we discussed. But at some stage, he talks about men who are constantly watching sports on television. He called them something. I just can't remember what he called them. He called them something like absent TV fathers or something like that. And I thought to myself, that is so true. You know, a lot of men find themselves. I know some churches in America that shift their church services because of big football games. So they shift their church services so that the men can stay home and watch football games. And I'm like, okay, I'm not in the context, so I don't necessarily understand why or how the decision is made. But I think to myself, that's interesting. You know, it's interesting that a sport on TV would take priority over a Sunday service, for example. Because women, 2/3 of the church is women, and I mean, we sit with that on campus as well. We sit with the issue that when we look at our connect groups, is the way by which we run our church, right? So we measure our church by connect groups, not attendance. And in connect groups, 2/3 of connect groups are ladies. And these connect groups are big, and they're getting together, and so small groups or cell groups, whatever you would call them, and they're doing well, and the men doing okay, you know. And it feels like something needs to happen, you know. It's the case.
Sad, actually.
Yeah. And the men are bored. You know,
bored.
It's what happens when men become bored. They look for something else, and the world will find them.
Yep.
You know, the world will find them in their boredom. At some stage, he also talks about lust and pornography, and he speaks about how a man yearns for that, and it gets into really deep detail, a lot of philosophical things that I definitely can't remember. But that also hinges on the boredom. You're bored at 10 at night, instead of being productive or going to sleep, you fall into something like pornography because you're bored. You know, it's crazy to think.
It reminds me of David.
Yes.
You know, 2 Kings 11, it starts in the time when kings go out to battle.
Mm-hmm.
David the king stayed home.
Yes.
And then he walks on the roof, sees Bathsheba,
Yes.
and the rest happens.
Yes.
He was bored, not walking in his calling,
Mm-hmm.
not fighting the battles.
Yes.
I mean, they did many years ago, they did a study in the US
Mm-hmm.
on the way boys and girls learn.
Yeah.
And they came to the conclusion that boys before 10 should not be in a class sitting down scenario being taught that.
Wow.
Before 10.
Wow.
We do it from what, 5, 6?
Yeah. Easy.
And then the boys don't want to sit still.
Yeah.
They give them medication
Yeah.
just to sit still.
Yes.
It starts there.
Yeah.
You know, dampening masculinity. The way God created us.
I think back to primary school. That was break time was the thing that you yearned for. Sitting in class, because break time we're playing touch rugby, and that's all you yearned for. So we had 2 breaks in primary school. First break was a long one, so you could play a decent game. You stank up every classroom for the next 3 periods because all of you are sweaty and you're becoming men in grade 7. You don't realize how much you stink. And then second break, you don't care. Second break, you're doing it again. And all you're thinking about is when does school end so that I can go and play again, go and do something physical again. I grew up next to the beach, praise the Lord. And that's where we spent our time. We went to school, we went to the beach. We went to school, we went to the beach. Day in, day out. You would do your homework the morning of, which isn't right, but that's what we yearn for. We yearn for physical activities. We yearn not to be bored.
Being practical.
Being practical, doing things that men are called to do. He talks about the wilderness a lot. You know, he talks about going into the wild and how God created the wild and how all of our hearts yearn for the wild. And I'm thinking of all the people that I know of that aren't, you know, people who like the outdoors. I'm thinking of them and I'm like, okay, that's them. But for me, personally, it touches because that's true. You know, I always tell people, my brother so my uncle had a farm, so my brother always went to the farm on holidays. And he also speaks about it in the 1st or the 2nd chapter about how he went to his grandfather's farm. And my brother always went to the farm, and I went to the farm once and I didn't like it. And so I always tell people, no, I'm more of a city kid, you know. But for some reason, I still prefer playing touch rugby, playing soccer, you know, going to the beach. I yearn for the beach in Portugal, you know. It's when I went on Camp David, just getting out, you know, it just ignites something in your heart. And I think for most people it's dormant. They think they don't like it, but it's because it's been suppressed.
They haven't tasted it.
They haven't tasted it, you know. And when I tasted it on Camp David, because prior to Camp David, I had opinions come my way, you know, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like it. I don't know if it's for me.
There's a few aspects in that. But let's read. Chapter 1 starts with a scenario that he sketches about him and his friend being in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Searching for elk.
Yes.
And then they come up. They get to some bear tracks, you know.
Yes.
And they discover the danger that they're in.
Yes.
Or they might be in.
Yeah.
And then he speaks about that, but then the last paragraph he says, and why I linger here still, letting the old bull get away, talking about the elk, right? He finds himself lingering in the bushveld, in the forest.
Yes.
And he keeps going back, whether he finds the elk or not.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps going back. My hunt, you see, actually has little to do with elk. I knew that before I came. There is something else I'm after out here in the wild. I'm searching for an even more elusive prey, something that can only be found through the help of wilderness. I'm looking for my heart. And that's where most men are at.
Yeah.
We've lost our hearts.
Yeah.
We've lost our wildness,
Yeah.
which is something God created inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
We were for a reason created different than women.
Yes.
And if we lose that piece of masculinity, and I mean it's difficult, we can say this to one another, you know, it's difficult in this world.
Yeah.
It's almost like the world, and we're going to get to that as well, that the world domesticates us as men.
Yeah.
Because we have to be dutiful, as he said, we have to do certain things, be responsible, provide. It's hard to be a man.
Yeah.
Especially today.
Yeah.
But in that we have a responsibility toward ourselves and toward God to awaken or to keep awake something that's wild in our hearts.
Yeah.
That our wives needs from us.
Yes.
I mean, my wife is a nurse, right? She knows how to handle people that's hurt.
Yeah.
And we've come on scenes previously a few times in car crashes.
Yeah.
Where she knows what to do, but I have to respond first because I'm naturally,
get it going.
you know, calmer. Yeah. And I assess the situation better, and I can tell this one needs help, that one's okay, and then she comes.
Yeah.
And it's what you're saying, it's the same thing. We're not talking about toxic masculinity as the right way, right? Being over-aggressive, being abusive, being dominant. No. I mean, there's places for being aggressive.
Yeah.
And being dominant if you're in a certain situation.
Yes.
But at home, supposed to be a soft-spoken, loving man.
Yes.
And I'm even thinking about the one thing most of us men struggle the most with: communication. You know, if you take the Bible, okay, God is well spoken.
Yes.
You never wonder about what He's saying.
Yes.
And that's something we need to learn as men. Being able to communicate.
Yes.
To, you know, to say what we're feeling, what we're thinking. And I suck with that. I've been working on it for, you know, decades.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm growing, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
We need to work on stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's part of godly masculinity.
That's right.
If you're not softly spoken,
yes.
And even if, I mean, you know, sometimes we get at home from work, frustrated, or disappointed, and we're a bit sharp with our mouths.
Yes.
If we're like that all the time, they won't come to us and turn and ask, "Am I beautiful?" Because they'll be scared. You know? So that's why it's the lion and the lamb, like Jesus. When you're at home, you're supposed to be the lamb.
Yes.
Loving, cuddling, you know, receptive.
Yes.
But if you're outside, you're supposed to be the lion.
Yes.
I mean, when we go to bed, I check the doors.
Yes.
I walk the perimeter. You know?
Yes.
Make sure everything's fine and safe.
Yeah.
If I'm in bed, next to my bed is my knife.
Yes.
If someone comes to the house, the knife is there to get me to the cupboard. The cupboard, I have my gas gun. The gas gun is there to get me to my safe.
Yes.
To get to the real weapons. Because I walk in front when it comes to protection.
Yes. Yeah.
So I've got the plans.
Yeah.
I make sure everything is locked. If we hear something outside, I go out.
Yes.
I don't send my wife.
Yeah.
Just the other day.
If you send your wife, you'll...
yeah, come on.
Come on,
I mean, just the other day, it's a good example. My wife and I had some words, but I was frustrated before that with a few things at work and so. And we had a few words and we missed each other, and I was on the edge. And I just knew I have to go. Get rid of this frustration before we continue this discussion. And I excused myself, I got up, I went outside, took the axe, and I wanted to chop some wood, but I just beat the wood, you know? I just freaking beat the wood. And when I turned around, the whole family was watching me with these big eyes, you know?
This is what he can do.
Seeing the lion's eye. And I was like, don't worry, I'm okay, I still love you, I'm still here, I'm still soft-spoken.
Yeah.
There was just a bit of frustration.
Yes.
Let's go back inside, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes the boys especially need to see this.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's the way we should, you know, present ourselves.
Yes.
We should be able to be godly men, be both ways,
yes.
but in the right situation.
Yes.
Some more. Let's talk about a bit of adventure, okay? Still just introductory. Adventure with all its requisite danger and wildness is a deeply spiritual longing written into the soul of man. I think this includes woodchopping. Okay?
Yeah.
The masculine heart needs a place where nothing is prefabricated, modular, non-fat, Ziploc, franchised, online, microwavable.
I read that out loud to my wife as well.
Where there are no deadlines, cell phones, or committee meetings. Where there is room for the soul.
Yeah.
Where finally the geography around us corresponds to the geography of our heart. Look at the heroes of the biblical text. Moses does not encounter the living God in the mall. He finds him or is found by him somewhere out in the deserts of Sinai, a long way from the comforts of Egypt. The same is true for Jacob, who has his wrestling match with God not on the living room sofa, but in a wadi somewhere east of the Jabbok in Mesopotamia. Where did the great prophet Elijah go to recover his strength? To the wild, as did John the Baptist and his cousin Jesus, who is led by the Spirit into the wilderness. Whatever else those explorers were after, they were also searching for themselves. Deep in a man's heart are some fundamental questions that simply cannot be answered at the kitchen table. Who am I? What am I made of? What am I destined for? It is fear that keeps a man at home where things are neat and orderly and under his control. But the answers to these deepest questions are not to be found on television or in the refrigerator. Out there on the burning desert sands, lost in a trackless waste, Moses received his life's mission and purpose. He is called up into something much bigger than he ever imagined, much more serious than CEO or Prince of Egypt. Under foreign stars in the dead of night, Jacob received a new name, his real name. No longer is he a shrewd business negotiator, but now he is one who wrestles with God. The wilderness trial of Christ is at its core a test of his identity. If you are who you think you are, if a man is ever to find out who he is and what he is here for, he has got to take that journey for himself. He has got to get his heart back. I think the way the world has been shaping masculinity, in a bad way. I mean, the stats show in the last 25 years, women's desire to get married skyrocketed. Men's desire to get married is down the drain. Because most men don't know how to be a good husband or be a good man anymore.
Yeah. They want the back door as an option.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I don't even know if I should say this, so many men have become gay.
Yeah.
I think the question that he speaks about, do I have what it takes? I think in a society where we're driven into success, because we don't really know who we are, we try to prove ourselves through success, and that makes our perspective of who I should be as a husband and a father too perfect and too hard to reach.
Yes, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And that's totally a wrong perspective of what it should be.
Yes.
If we just go back to the principle, if God created masculinity, then we can't be men of God or even close to good men if we're not spending time with Him, if we're not His sons, if we don't commune with Him, if we don't listen to Him. That's the only way we can do this. He's not looking for perfection.
Yes.
He's looking for men that's pursuing Him.
Yes.
In the pursuit, you become like Him.
Yeah. Because all of us differ.
Yeah.
We
will make mistakes.
Yeah.
This boy is 11 now. Okay. The thing he says the most to me, Dad, we know we're gonna have some alone time.
Sure.
Because, we have 4 kids. It's difficult to get alone time. But that's his biggest desire now.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love that.
Yes.
Somewhere I did something right. Praise the Lord. But then I think about another situation when he was small.
Yeah.
It was only him in the house. We were sitting on the bed, him and me and my wife. We were playing and he kicked me with a heel on my mouth. And just in playing.
Yeah.
But it was a good shot. Okay? And my first reaction was I went for him.
Yeah.
Luckily I missed. Swipe.
Yeah.
My wife's eyes was this big.
Yes.
I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
And I had to work through that again.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Lord, take it away.
Yes.
So it's not about doing it perfect. It's about pursuing God. If He's my Father, then in pursuit of Him, I'll be a good father.
Yeah.
Not the perfect one, a good father.
Yeah. And the lashing out is it's a toxic masculine trait that we need to make sure we handle. Because all men have that.
So building the distinction between toxic and godly masculinity makes us be able to make the decisions.
Yeah.
My intention is I do not want to kill someone.
No, by no means.
But if it gets to that, hopefully it never does.
Yes.
I probably will have to.
Yeah.
But I can hurt someone and throw them outside without killing them.
Yes.
You know, we're not talking down about women.
No, by no means.
On femininity.
No.
It's just roles, you know.
Yes.
I think God made us stronger for a reason.
Yes.
They are more the comforter, and I love that.
Yes, it's amazing.
Sometimes my wife comforts me.
Yeah.
Freaking amazing.
Yeah.
The last piece, we can discuss this. Our local zoo, this is the start of chapter 3. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Our local zoo had for years one of the biggest African lions I've ever seen. A huge male, nearly 500 pounds. Our weight?
500 pounds. You want that in kilograms?
Well, all three of us maybe in the studio.
200 Ks, 250.
No, 300, something like that.
Mm.
With a wonderful mane and absolutely enormous paws. The king of the beast. Sure, he was caged, but I'm telling you, the bars offered small comfort when you stood within 6 feet of something that in any other situation saw you as an easy lunch. Honestly, I felt I ought to shepherd my boys past him at a safe distance, as if he could pounce on us if he really wanted to. He was my favourite, and whenever the others would wander on to the monkey house or the tigers, I'd double back just for a few more minutes in the presence of something so powerful and noble and deadly.
Mm.
Perhaps it was fear mingled with admiration. Perhaps it was simply that my heart broke for the big old cat. This wonderful, terrible creature should have been out roaming the savannah, ruling his pride, striking fear into the heart of every wildebeest, bringing down zebras and gazelles whenever the urge seized him. Instead, he spent every hour of every day and every night of every year alone, in a cage smaller than your bedroom. His food served to him through a little metal door. Sometimes late at night, after the city had gone to sleep, I would hear his roar come down from the hills. It sounded not so much fierce, but rather mournful. During all my visits, he never looked me in the eye. I desperately wanted him to, wanted for his sake the chance to stare me down. Would have loved it if he took a swipe at me. But he just lay there, weary, with that deep weariness that comes from boredom, taking shallow breaths, rolling now and then from side to side. For after years of living in a cage, a lion no longer even believes it is a lion, and a man no longer believes he is a man.
Mm.
That lion is domesticated.
Yeah.
He's lost his fierceness and his wildness.
Yes.
And in essence, he lost his authority.
Mm.
He still has the potential, but it needs to be awakened.
Yes.
And most men, unfortunately, that's where they are.
Yeah.
Maybe to a degree, all of us, you know.
Yeah.
Because we're still on this journey on finding godly masculinity.
Yeah.
What it means to be a godly man.
Yes.
And there's not a lot of good examples out there.
Mm. Yeah.
That's why it's a journey we need to be on, at least.
Yeah.
A few instances, you know, he destroys the cities.
Yeah. Hey, that's good.
The Israelites had to go through the desert for 40 years
Yeah.
to be renewed and to be made ready for the promised land.
Yeah.
There's something there that we as men need.
Yes.
desperately.
Yeah.
And obviously we can't put our finger on it. And it sounds like we're, in today's podcast, just speaking in general about
That's introduction.
But we'll get practical on the next ones.
Yeah.
We need to be practical because men are practical. So
Yes.
we'll get there.
Yes.
But at least, let's end with this. We need at least to be on a journey
Yeah.
in discovering what it means to be a godly man.
Yes.
If we're not on this journey, in the Word of God, with godly brothers,
Yes.
we're not even gonna aim towards
Yeah.
becoming a godly man.
Yeah.
We have to be on this journey at least.
Yeah.
Chop some wood.
Chop someone. Get that testosterone level up.
Lawrence, thank you so much.
Amen.
This is so good.
Yeah. Praise the
See you on the next recording.
Lord. All right.
Over and out.